from the Magna Carta. This is section 61 from the Magna Carta. It's worth reading in its entirety. Let's go through it. If we, and the monarchy always spoke in terms of we. So if we, the king, the queen, if we, our Chief Justice, our officials, or any of our servants offend in any respect against any man, or transgress any of the articles of the peace or of the security, and the offense, the grievance, is made known to 4 of the said 25 barons, they shall come to us. Or in our absence from the kingdom, if we're over on the continent, we're over in France or whatever, they shall come to the Chief Justice to declare it, to declare the grievance, and claim immediate redress or immediate remedy. So they shall petition us and claim redress. If we, or in our absence abroad, the Chief Justice, make no redress within 40 days, reckoning from the day on which the offense was declared to us, or to him, the Chief Justice, the 4 barons shall refer the matter to the rest of the 25 barons, who may distrain upon and assail us in every way possible with the support of the whole community of the land, by seizing our castles, lands, possessions, or anything else saving only our own person and those of the queen and our children, until they have secured such redress as they have determined upon, and having secured the redress, they may then resume their normal obedience to us. So if we, the government, do not respond to petitions for redress or for a remedy of grievances, then you have the legal right, the king is saying, the people have the legal right to take everything we own, our lands, possessions, armaments, everything, except my life, the life of the queen, and the life of the children. And then, having secured your remedy, you shall, resume your normal obedience to us. Powerful. And we fast forward a little bit, and we find some more reference to what some more words in our own documents that give us some clue as to the power and the meaning the founders had behind those last 10 words of the First Amendment. Ever since the Magna Carta, that right to petition was practiced. People knew they had the right to petition the government if they were violating their natural rights and so forth over in England. And that right was carried forward, and to give you some idea of its use, 400 years after the Magna Carta, there was a king who had leanings towards Rome, in other words, Catholicism. And he issued a proclamation saying everyone in Great Britain, everyone has the right to worship any way they want to. And I want this proclamation read from every pulpit in the land on this particular Sunday. He was pretty proud of himself. Some bishops, however, were concerned. And they said, wait a minute. This right does not, if we do this, then we're recognizing or we're suggesting that this right comes from the king, not from God. So let's go talk to him. This is a grievance. We don't want to read this. We don't want to read his proclamation, because people have that right because they are alive. It's a natural right. And so 6 of them set out to speak to the king about this. The king heard they were coming. He was delighted until they got there, and he learned what they were there for. And he immediately imprisoned them and put them in the dungeon, and there was a trial, a jury trial. And they got their barristers and so forth. And one of their defenses, well, we were merely petitioning for a redress of this grievance. And the jury acquitted them on that argument. That right to petition carried forward and carried to our shores. And before the Revolution, people were petitioning for redress of grievances. And then when our country was established, that practice continued. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But when in 1774, a lot of these petitions, after the French and Indian War, the French were out of here, out of the colonies. The French were out. England was left with a large standing army that had to be supported. And, of course, they had large standing armies elsewhere around the globe. They ruled the seas. They were the most powerful government on the earth. They were the government in the 13 colonies for 150 years before 1774 and 1776. So the king, England, they were treating the Americans differently than they were treating their own people over in their homeland. And our people, Jefferson and others, were petitioning for a redress of these grievances, getting nowhere. And as I say, they decided to send 3 or so representatives from each of the colonies to Philadelphia to talk about these grievances and to decide what to do. While they were there in Philadelphia, they signed an act unanimously, an 8-page act. The title of the act was Continental Congress to the Inhabitants of the Province of Quebec. It was dated October 26, 1774. You find it in Journal 1 of the Continental Congress on page 105. And in that act, and we can click on this PDF and bring up the text of the full act, but in that act, what the founders are saying is this: we are going to talk about, in this 8-page act, we are going to talk about the great rights, the grand rights that individuals have. And in talking about the first of those great rights, the right to government based upon the consent of the people, they said this. It's down here, and I've got it in larger type coming up. They said this: if money is wanted by rulers who have in any manner oppressed the people, they may retain it until their grievances are redressed or remedied, and thus peaceably procure relief without trusting to despised petitions or disturbing the public tranquility. Now, the founders knew that the people had the right to petition. They had it ever since the Magna Carta was recognized, right? But they also knew that government doesn't like opposition from any quarter. They despise these petitions, and they may not answer them. And of course, their experience was they were petitioning, and their petitions were being answered only with repeated injury. So the founders said, if money is wanted by rulers who have in any manner oppressed the people, they may retain it until their grievances are redressed. It's a non-violent solution, and therefore peaceably procure relief. Without trusting to the despised petitions, without putting all your hope and trust on these despised petitions or disturbing the public tranquility. Jefferson was not a great public speaker, but he could think and write. And this is the way he put it. He said, the privilege of giving or withholding out our money is an important barrier against the undue exertion of prerogative which, left altogether without control, may be exercised to our great oppression. And all history shows how efficacious its intercession. What's it? The ability to give and retain money to government. And history shows how efficacious its intercession for redress of grievances and establishment of rights, and how improvident, how wrong, how dangerous it would be to surrender so powerful a mediator. This right to petition pre-existed these other rights of free speech and the press and assembly. These other rights, guaranteed by the First Amendment, are derivative rights. They derive from the fundamental right to be able to petition the government for and to hold them accountable. The right to petition is a distinctive, substantive right from which other substantive First Amendment rights were derived. The rights of free speech, press, and assembly originated as derivative rights insofar as they were necessary to protect the pre-existing right of petition. Free speech rights first developed because members of Parliament needed to discuss freely the petitions they received. What good is the right to petition if you can't